Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's me, the one and only Agent Chambly, and today I'll be reviewing Sonic 2 on the Sega Genesis. However, I'll be reviewing the Sega Genesis Classics version on the PlayStation 4. I have very fond memories of Sonic 2. I remember seeing the commercial for it as a kid, and I always thought to myself, when did Sonic 1 come out? Yeah, I don't remember the advertisements for Sonic 1, but I do for Mario World for some reason. Well, that's another story. Anyways, I remember being interested in this Sonic guy. I noticed that he ran fast and that there were loop-de-loops in his levels, but I didn't have a big urge to play Sonic 2 at that time. With that being said though, I would finally get my opportunity to play Sonic 2 in January of 1994. My brother and my cousin who was living with us at the time received a Sega Genesis as a late Christmas gift, and guess what game came with the console? That's right, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I remember being excited to fully see what this Sonic game was all about, and it didn't disappoint. My eyes were glued to the TV as I watched my brother and cousin play the game. I didn't get a chance to play the game myself that night, but I didn't care. I was just enjoying what I was watching. It wasn't until the next day when I finally got my hands on the game, and I couldn't get past Chemical Plant. Yeah, I was terrible at the game. But eventually, I got better, and 2 years later, yes, 2 years, I finally beat the game, one of my favorite gaming achievements. This game was a big part of my childhood and is one of the reasons why I am a gamer and a Sonic fan today. So it's been 25 years between my first experience playing the game and now. How does the game hold up today? Well, let's find out. Let's start with this game's story. Yes, it's similar to Sonic 1's story, but this time Robotnik is building a giant space station called the Death Egg. Anyways, he's once again turning helpless animals into evil robots to help him on his quest for world domination, and it's up to Sonic and newcomer Miles Prower, aka Tails, to find the 7 Chaos Emeralds and stop Robotnik at all costs. And yes, you heard correctly, there are now 7 Chaos Emeralds to collect. Now, where did the 7th Emerald come from? I don't know. Maybe it was a prize in a box of Cheerios or something. Anyways, that's the goal of the game, and it works out just fine here, even though I do wonder about that 7th Chaos Emerald. Now, let's talk about the gameplay. Sonic plays a lot like he did in Sonic 1. He can run fast, jump, turn into a ball, and not swim. However, he does have a new move that helps take this game to the next level, the Spin Dash. The Spin Dash allows Sonic to charge up in ball form and zip across the level at high speed. And this is extremely helpful when it comes to momentum. One of my issues with Sonic 1 was the fact that you can lose momentum at moments when you need it most, like going through a loop. Now with the Spin Dash, it's a non-issue. And another great thing about it is that you can kill enemies with it. Just watch out for projectiles, they can still hurt you. Sonic still has the same power-ups, the shield, speed shoes, and invincibility all make returns here, as well as the ring boxes and extra life boxes. And the same rules apply when it comes to collecting rings. Collect 100 of them and you get an extra life. You get hit with possession of rings, you lose those rings. You get hit with no rings, and you're dead. And of course, being crushed, bottomless pits, and drowning will kill you too. I guess it's a good time to talk about Tails here. Tails is a two-tailed fox that's also fast thanks to his tails. He has the same moves as Sonic, yes, even the Spin Dash, and you have a chance to play as either Sonic alone, Sonic with Tails as a helpful companion, or as Tails alone. Personally, I like playing as the characters by themselves. Now let's talk about the levels. Instead of 7 zones, you now have 11 zones, with the majority of them having 2 acts this time instead of 3. One of them still does have 3 acts, and 3 of them only have 1 act to them. And of course at the end of each zone, there is a boss fight with Dr. Robotnik. The levels themselves are pretty simple for the most part, nothing too difficult and cheap, until you get to Metropolis Zone. This is a 3-act zone I was talking about, and it can be a pain. It's not a hard level per se, but it's one of the longest and most annoying by far. And there are 3 simple reasons for that: Slicers, Shell Crackers, and Asterons. These enemies suck big time and will cheap shot you every chance they get. This level by far has the worst enemy placement in the game, maybe in the entire series. And since we're on the topic of annoying levels, let's talk about the special stages. These stages are hard and one of the worst in the Sonic series. Now, I do think that the half-pipe setup was impressive for its time. It was a 16-bit era, and seeing something like that was amazing. but that all changes when you actually play the stages. Now the first 3 stages are okay, but after that, good luck. These stages are just as cheap as Metropolis Zone, maybe even more. The goal is to collect the required amount of rings before you reach the end. You have 3 rounds, and each round has a certain amount of rings you need to collect to advance to the next round. Once you get through all 3 rounds, then the Chaos Emerald is all yours. But you have to avoid the bombs that come your way in the process, and it's really difficult because of the depth perception. The same thing goes when collecting rings. The depth perception makes the special stages really difficult. It's just hard for you to judge where you need to be at the right times. And honestly, I prefer not to get the emeralds in this game. To be fair though, getting to the special stages is really easy. Just have at least 50 rings before you cross a checkpoint. You can actually get all 7 Chaos Emeralds in the first zone alone. So what happens when you do get all 7 Chaos Emeralds? Well, you become a you become Super Sonic. Whenever you have 50 rings or more, all you have to do is jump in the air and you'll automatically become Super Sonic. I mean, it's cool that he's invincible, runs faster, and jumps higher, but becoming Super Sonic drains your rings. Once all your rings are gone, you turn back to normal. That's not the real issue though. The real issue is that once you become Super Sonic, you stay Super Sonic until all your rings are gone. And on top of that, you have to hear this repetitive music the whole time. It's not a bad thing by any means, but it gets old real fast. They also have multiplayer in the game. You have versus multiplayer and co-op. In the versus multiplayer, you have 3 levels to choose from: Emerald Hills, Casino Night, and Mystic Caves, and what they are a race to the finish between Sonic and Tails. You are able to get items in versus mode, however you do not know which item you're going to get because all the items have question marks on them. And on top of that, you have a new item box, the transportation item box, which switches places between you and Tails regardless of where you're at during the race, and that can work with you or against you. The other versus level you have is the bonus stages, and it's just a competition between Sonic and Tails to see who could get the most rings by the end of the stage. There's nothing special really. And finally, you have co-op. Sort of. You are able to play through some of the levels with player 1 being Sonic and player 2 being Tails, and it's kind of weird. Player 2 will be able to help out player 1 in the levels, but whoever is player 1 will be doing most of the work because Sonic does tend to leave Tails behind. My cousin helped me with the multiplayer footage and he described the co-op play as weird, and I see where he's coming from. Overall, I see nothing wrong with this game having multiplayer, but at the same time, it didn't need it. Let's talk about the music actually. Now, I love the music from the first game, however, the music in the sequel is freaking awesome. This game's music is much improved from the first game, and I love the music from the first game. A huge majority of the tracks in the game are nothing short of great. They are catchy and memorable. My favorites being Chemical Plant, Aquatic Ruin, Mystic Cave, and Wing Fortress, but almost every track in this game is like candy to my ears. Graphically, this game looks a little better than the first. Sonic is a darker shade of blue in this game, and I think it's an improvement to his look. The levels this time around are more colorful too. Not to say the first game wasn't colorful, but you can tell they put a bit more effort in the way the levels look compared to the first. It's not a major difference, but it's a noticeable one. Overall, this game does exactly what a sequel should do, improved from the first one. I played Sonic 2 before Sonic 1 as a kid, and to this day, playing Sonic 1 feels like a downgrade. Sonic 2 improved on everything Sonic 1 did. Well, almost everything. Overall, I'm going to give this game an A-. The gameplay, music, and levels are much improved from the first game, but there are some cheap moments in the game, and the special stages aren't very good. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, if you like this video, be sure to smash that like button, get that subscribe button a good KO punch, and I'll see you next time. Thank you all once again. You all have a good night. Take care of yourselves, be safe, and remember, geek gaming and nerd culture is for everyone, and let's keep things fun.